Hey guys, thanks as always for clicking on my face. As usual, I'd like to thank the sponsor this week, Raytheon. Have you guys ever wondered what Stark Industries would look like in real life? Well, it would probably look something like the Raytheon Corporation. Raytheon is advancing the possibilities for aviation, building state-of-the-art defense systems, and creating new avenues for space travel. Call the number 781-522-5123 to find out how you can give all your money to Raytheon. Now to talk about one of the most anticipated Marvel movies ever. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So this movie is not only a follow-up to 2015's Doctor Strange, but also Spider-Man No Way Home and the Disney Plus series WandaVision. So that's a lot of ground to cover. This movie is also directed by Sam Raimi, his first superhero movie after 4 Spider-Man movies. When I heard that he was directing this, Wait a second. Hold on.
Okay, that's enough.
Well, I was just wondering, wasn't there only 3 Raimi films?
Come over here, I'll explain everything. Can I offer you a drink?
Sure.
You're wondering why I would ask you to do this, aren't you?
Well, yeah.
Why would someone pretend to be Jeremy Jahns? I've always loved the works of Sam Raimi, the Evil Dead films, For the Love of the Game, starring Kevin Costner, Bruce Campbell, but most of all, I loved his films with Tobey Maguire, his Spider-Man films. Now, I came to associate the first Spider-Man with the death of my father.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
He died on 9/11. Now, he wasn't in the towers, of course. He was from Missoula. He died during a hunting incident. A bighorn sheep gored him during archery season. But if he had had a gun, he would have survived, which is part of the reason why I'm such a big supporter of President Trump and the NRA.
But you can't really say he died on 9/11, then, can you?
Of course I can. He did die on September 11th, 2001. You can't tell me that the events were not connected. National grief and my personal grief became the same thing. It was something that I was acutely aware of.
Wouldn't you have been like 6?
I was 5. It still affected me, of course, and I eventually went on to kill the sheep, as was my duty. About half a year later, I saw Spider-Man in the theater. I've loved superhero films ever since. I felt Peter's loss at losing Uncle Ben, and felt his satisfaction at getting revenge. I, of course, later on went on to love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Are you an MCU superfan? You look like one.
I mean, they're fine, but I'm not sure I've seen any since the one...
I believe that the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are modern-day myths, and will eventually be viewed in a similar light to the foundational texts of the Western canon. I'm talking about Homer. I'm talking about Dante, Milton, Virgil, Harry Potter, all of these things. But Virgil could not have written the Aeneid without Octavius. What I'm trying to get in here and say is that in 2009, I was sitting in a theater. I was getting ready to watch the film X-Men Origins Wolverine. Back in that time, theaters were still using 35mm projection. During the trailers, a reel got screwed up, and an attendant from the theater came out and apologized to everybody and explained the situation. But during that time, on the screen, lit up, I saw a trailer for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. It was done in a visual frequency that only a select few people could see. No one in the theater other than me saw it.
There wasn't a Spider-Man 4, though.
There was. It was just canceled because Sam Raimi couldn't get a script together in time. That's what they say, at least. But it was shot, at least partially. I saw it. John Malkovich was playing the Vulture. Now, the Wolverine movie was a 20th Century Fox property. Spider-Man is Sony, DC is owned by Warner, and of course, Disney owns the MCU. But it's a fallacy to assume that these companies are in any sort of competition. They all have a vested interest in altering our taste and attention spans so that will be more likely to watch more comic book movies. It wouldn't make any sense for these companies to not be colluding on the future of their properties. They also all have a common benefactor in the military-industrial complex. The initial Iron Man film is a very conscious argument for defense contractors. Raytheon even created a piece of tech to support the release of Iron Man 2. The US military also has to sign off on most Marvel films in order to allow their use of military tech.
What's the purpose of all this, then?
These films are just now introducing the idea of the multiverse. A group of different world stories all under one canonical roof. Batman, X-Men, the Avengers could all take place in the same multiverse. Hell, we could be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Eventually, everything that's happening in your life could be part of Marvel's shared universe. Disney is taking the first step to this with their story living communities. The military also clearly has a vested interest in this. Its actions will be more comprehensible to the average citizen when they're able to understand it as a part of an ongoing story. Imagine seeing a peacekeeping mission in Somalia on CNN, and then going to your local theater and watching the new Black Panther film, and watching them help our brave men and women fight the evil Somalis. Eventually, these superhero properties will attach themselves to every other piece of content. There will only ever be a single, continuous, never-ending story.
If what you're saying is actually true, it'd be horrifying. Like some sort of dystopian hellscape.
I don't think you quite understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we could be getting a movie with both DC and Marvel characters at some point in the future. Superhero fans like myself could follow along with the story at all times. When I saw the trailer for Spider-Man 4, it was an isolated vision, my burning bush, alerting me to a grand world which awaited in the future. This John's video is my way of spreading the good word to get more people on the hype train.
But you're saying that the general populace would be so pacified they would accept anything?
You're not a Marvel fan, are you? That's fine. I planned for that. Feeling tired?
How long have I been here?
Couple of days.
My friends, family, they'll be looking for me.
Nobody's gonna find you here.
No, please, I'll do whatever you want.
It's not about you doing something. It's about breaking down barriers. Different philosophies, different political ideologies, psychological theories. They're all narrow-minded ways of simplifying a world that's increasingly avoiding being simplified. Eventually, you'll run into something which is unexplainable. For example, towards the end of World War II, there was an American officer who was working as a liaison for the RAF. He was in London, and he was using most of his downtime bedding various women around the city. In fact, it got to so many women that he was notating a map of the city with the time, location, and name of each of his conquests. Now, it just so happened that later, someone who was working for the MI5 saw this map and realized that each of the locations of the conquest correlated with a V-2 rocket landing there, not more than a day later. Everybody tried to explain it in different ways. Was the sex act calling the rocket? Was the rocket, which was meant to be a mindless object, not actually mindless? No one ever got to the bottom of it because there was no actual answer. No one was equipped for it. Used to be in a different time, people would simply say that God works in mysterious ways, but as you probably know, God is dead. But the need for stories still hasn't gone away. Stories allow us to predict what's going to happen next. Things we don't understand can simply be dismissed as plot points that haven't been explained yet. Humanity needs stories to exist, and I believe that the Marvel Cinematic Universe can be that story, and me, one of its grand prophets. Perhaps you are ready for what comes next. These are some of my favorite clips from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No.
This one has Tony in it. Tony! Tony Stark! This one has T'Challa. It's so funny. I'm laughing so much, I would make a great Joker. This is my audition for the Joker. Look at it! It's hilarious. It's artwork. This scene was directed by Taika Waititi. This scene is from Thor: The Dark World.
No! No, make it stop! No, please!
It's sad! What a beautiful shot!
Why?
That's my review.